People, Deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, and I hope you're all doing well and safe. Well, better yet, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are and according to the time zone. Now, later on, Arsenal will welcome Leicester City at the Emirates, let's hope we can win. Let's hope, I don't know for dreaming of top four, but every game you win at this time puts you in a better position. That's neither here nor there. I'm sure this morning you're all waking up to reports in The Athletic in relation to Guendouzi's future and a couple of other things, so we might as well speak about them. Now, if you didn't know, you all know the situation with Guendouzi. Clearly, I don't think he has discipline issues to the extent where you can't train and stuff, but he is someone that clearly is still very emotional in his young life. He's shown he can be someone which is very professional, someone who can be a leader both on and off the field, because you hear a lot of good things. Equally, you hear a lot of bad things, like he did have a bust up when he was at Lorient, and that's kind of carried it on now. And, if he's going to go, and I believe he's got top potential to be a very good midfielder, but if he's going to play for Arsenal or any other top sort of club, you need to carry on a certain sort of way. Apparently, details have emerged. Obviously, he's not been in the in the squad in any capacity in the last 3 or 4 games. Apparently, he's been instructed to train along with a fitness coach by Arteta. Arteta, more or less, is Arteta's choice to sell the player. It's his choice for him to be doing what he's doing, and it is what it is. And in this regards, obviously I want Guendouzi to play. I still think, Arteta hasn't closed the door on him. I think it's tough love. Apparently Arteta is upset that he didn't take initiative in saying sorry and things like that. So it doesn't appear that we can get anywhere. And to be fair, in terms of balancing the books, if you can get anything from 20 to 40 million for Guendouzi, I don't agree with it. But the sale of Balogun for around 5 million, Lacazette's future is up for debate, and a couple of others, it's a chance to balance the books or potentially be a bit smart with what we're going to do in the market when you look at it without emotion. Now, The Athletic has reported Matteo Guendouzi has not trained with Arsenal's first team since the defeat at Brighton more than 2 weeks ago. The Athletic has learned that Mikel Arteta has instructed Guendouzi to train along with a fitness coach after encountering problems with the player's attitude and general conduct. And this is what I feel for me, because you have heard a lot of these incidences this season. The most dangerous thing as a player is your manager giving up on you. Arteta has shown he will give you opportunities. He's even started Guendouzi in big games. I just feel, it's a thing for Arteta in that, you lot know already there's millions of things as a manager you have to occupy yourself with, definitely in this delicate position that Arsenal are. And you look at all the stuff Arteta has to do. He has to deal with potential futures of keeping his best player in Aubameyang. He's trying to implement tactics and do all the stuff on the training drill. He's got to keep one eye open to training sessions. So the least you want is one less problem. And I feel Guendouzi's probably just one more problem for him, one more headache. And he'd just rather do without it, sort of thing. And I also feel it's a chance to send a strong message to people. If you're not with it, if you're not on this boat, get off it, like he keeps saying, sort of thing, basically. It does feel that there's no way back when you hear he's been isolated in things. I do think it is tough love, tough discipline, trying to, provoke him to change. And I have small hope that it changes. But for me, I think, he's not going to play until the end of the season. Hope to be wrong. I think he's going to be sold. I think him, Balogun, Lacazette potentially are departures. And it is what it is, people. You already know in Dubai they had the little Mazzolini as well, people. And he was excluded from the Newcastle United squad in the subsequent Premier League match. And he's annoying people. And apparently Arteta is understood to be disappointed that the player has not taken the initiative to apologise or show a willingness to change. While there is admiration for his talent among Arteta's coaching staff, some at Arsenal feel he has already been afforded enough chances. Arsenal have explored the possibility of using him in a swap deal in the forthcoming transfer window. The club are due to meet with Guendouzi's representatives in the coming days to discuss the situation. Which is, and I like, it's about tempering it, people, because, there's a player in Guendouzi and there's a mentality in Guendouzi. He just needs to channel it the right way. For him, what you need to realise is you've kind of done a bit of that at Lorient, but you've got talent, so you still played for them. You've now played at Arsenal. You've got talent. You've been on the cusp of the first team in France. If you go to another club, I do think France will pay attention to you. But you're 20-odd years of age. What you don't want to be is 26, You look at Jeremy Mendes. You look at Samir Nasri. You look at a lot of these players. And I'm not criticising Samir Nasri. He was a baller. He was a fucking good baller, and he's had a good career. But did he hit? I personally feel Nasri, if his attitude was different and he really loved football like that and applied himself, he could be a great in it. Like, he could have been the difference between good and great. And I feel a lot of footballers, you know, don't get it twisted. You've escaped poverty. You've had a 1 in a million sort of life. You're playing football. You're enjoying it. It's a lifestyle. But you don't want it to hit you at 26 and you're a good player. You're not as good as you could have been, or you're floating and you haven't realised potential. You know, life is full of regrets. We all were young once. I'm 25. There's things I would have done differently at 2021. You know, so we have to be a bit easy. But, you know, the older Guendouzi gets now, you're looking in for him to change. And for me, why I'm disappointed is, for me, Guendouzi is one of the more experienced players in this squad. Maybe not with age and on the grand scheme of it, not games played. But since he's come into the first team, very few players have elevated their status as much. You know, only Saka and Martinelli, really. You know, for the young players, out of all the young players, he's significantly the most experienced. He's played a number of times under Unai Emery for Arsenal and this club. He's played in some big games. You know, he's someone that's very passionate. Every North London derby, he's at it. Look at the fans. I think he could be a beacon. He could be a leader. I'm not saying he could be captain, but he could be a leader. It's really frustrating because there's just little things he could change in his apparent attitude and little things in his play. And I think he'd be a decent player. I think he's one of these midfielders that are misunderstood, and there's a couple at many clubs in that, you know, you're not going to see Guendouzi get goals and assists and blockbuster stuff. He's more going to try to dictate the tempo, keep things ticking over. I like him, but at the end of the day, yeah, if you're not Lionel Messi and these things, everybody's disposable. I would like us to go out and find another young sort of French or some sort of midfielder, similar profile to Guendouzi, because someone needs to replace that for me. I mean, you sold Benatia, you gave me Guendouzi, Arsenal, you've got to give me something else to work with to get it. It's quite sad, people, and you know, it's one of the non-negotiables. You know, Arteta I don't think he's making an example of Guendouzi because he wants to pick on him. I think, you know what, he has to stamp his foot down. I think, you know, people don't buy into a manager just because he's a nice guy, and Arteta has to be a nice guy. Man management is a big thing, but at the same time, you know, you keep that good. Like Jurgen Klopp, he's clearly someone they describe as a brother, as a family member, as an uncle, they all say, and he's nice with them. But at some level, he needs to be ruthless. At some level, the distinction needs to be made that, yo, I want you lot to feel comfortable. We can joke and laugh, but when it's time to work, it's time to work. I'm the manager, you're the players, and fall in line. And I think he's identified that, you know, Guendouzi's giving him chances. He's young, so he's probably thinking he's a bit naive. And it's just long. Like, you don't want to be planning tactical sessions. You're rewatching the training session like you've heard, and you're seeing Guendouzi act a fool. It's just long. Like, the talent is there. I do think he's going to be a better player than he is now. And in hindsight, Arsenal might look silly. But considering you bought him for like 8 or so million, could potentially sell him for 20 to 40. You know, that's a calm flip. You use some of that to bring in Partey and invest in other areas. You know, if you bring in Shabazz, like, I'm willing to shut up. And different things can be done, people. And obviously, after the game against Wolves, Arteta reiterated, I want players that respect the values that we want to implement, that are 100% committed to our culture, and players that are accountable every day for what we demand from them. And, you know, that's it, Guendouzi. You can't be professional or match day and unprofessional. And I think Guendouzi does have the character. I think he just needs to behave himself, literally. And the door is always open. I do think there's a way back, but it depends. If Guendouzi wants to feel sorry for himself, or does he want to learn and grow up a bit and suck it up and realise, okay, cool, I'm doing my time. You know, the manager wants to provoke a different reaction from me. You know what? I don't want to train with this fitness coach, but let me do this fitness thing. You know, let me shut my mouth. Let me apologise. Let me bide my time and, you know, play my position and wait in the pecking order, because I've probably gone back to 0 now because of my attitude, and wait and force my way, because I do think Guendouzi has a lot of potential. It's the way I'm speaking of him, clearly I'm a big fan of him. Like, for me, I'm genuine. I expect Torreira to go. Potentially, I expect Guendouzi to go. I expect Lacazette to go. I expect young Balogun to leave. And you know what? When I remove my emotion, as much as I like all of these players, you know, you look at the balances that these players could bring in and what Arteta potentially could do and get his sort of players in, which I think Guendouzi is. I think he loves Guendouzi. I just think the attitude thing is long. Like, I'm not being funny, and he knows Guendouzi isn't level, but this man's worked with Kevin De Bruyne, he's worked with Raheem Sterling, he's worked with world-class, top-class, household sort of names, if you don't want to say they're of that ilk. And they've probably applied themselves more, and he's looking at Guendouzi like, you might be able to join them, but, you know, I've worked with them, and these lot have played for their countries and earning money and won Premier League titles and been around the block, and they're still behaving like novices that are just coming into the game. Who are you? You think you've made a couple of appearances for Arsenal and you're getting called up by the Champs that you can think you're ahead of yourself? He's not on it. humility. I do think Guendouzi is humble, but I think he needs to display his humility and realise that it's like they say in boxing, leave your egos at the door. It's the team first. And I do think, I like Guendouzi, he's got an ego, he's got that fiery temper, but it's about checking it, you know, harnessing it and applying it in the right way. And, you know, Arteta, we ain't got time to hold people's hands in this club, because we're not where we need to be, you know. If we was winning the league title and if we were Liverpool and Guendouzi was doing this, we might have a bit more time to think about the situation. But it's get with it or not. If he wants to feel sorry for himself and move and go to another club for whatever reason, whether that's because of the relationship with Arteta, because whether that's, you know, you hear he wants to play in the Olympics / the Euros next year, then so be it, people. It's sad. Apparently, an Arsenal source close to Jim White said the door is always open for Guendouzi, which I assume means to remain at the club. Away from that, though, and as you lot have seen in the early hours, it hasn't been made official, at least for me at the time of making this feed. But St Etienne and Arsenal are apparently still negotiating for Saliba to obviously play in the cup final against PSG, which would obviously be a highlight for him, would be a good send-off whether they win or lose. You know, he's been part of the squad, he deserves it. Apparently St Etienne, quite rightly so, you know, he would hit the target they set to be for Arsenal to owe them 2.5 million, which is very cheeky. And Arsenal, I like how Arsenal, you know, let their nuts hang, put their feet down and said, you know what, we're not getting zanged like this, you're not shagging us, you know. And a lot of fans critiqued Arsenal at first and said, oh, Saliba can't play. I was one of them. And then I read through, I was like, no, you know what, Arsenal actually right, you know, like, they're trying to swindle us. Like, imagine he plays in that game, he gets injured and he's out for the rest of the season, and we have to pay them 2.5 million because of that target. It's bloody cheeky, isn't it, when you've already hardballed us to make him stay at the club for the following campaign, which is very cheeky. But for Saliba, you know, it's sad. It's almost like, you know, when a mother and father, they've broken up and they're living in different yards, and, you know, both parties are being spiteful. Who is the loser? It's the child, innit, that loses because he's being robbed time of his mum and father and all of these things. It feels a bit like that with Saliba. He would have been robbed of a cup final. Saliba didn't do nothing wrong. He's not in the negotiating table. That's for the people above. So for me, it presents him with the opportunity to play in his first cup final in his career. Obviously, potentially win something for it. Obviously, a good send-off just with St Etienne and all of these sort of things. I would love them to win. You know, PSG's a tough ox, but hopefully there's something positive for Saliba. I'm sure you also on his Instagram he was coming to London. I'm not too sure why. You know, he could just be coming to London. I don't know. Moving away from that though, and you know, Bellerin's been linked with PSG, Juventus, and Bayern Munich. I'm a big fan of Bellerin. You know, I'm hoping that Arteta can get that spark back into him so I can start screaming he's best in the league and stuff. But I must admit, I don't see it happening. And I'm not going to lie, you know, Bellerin, 50 million, 30 to 50 million, I'm not going to lie, people. You know, it will get me talking. I probably would sell. I don't think these clubs are really interested, but if that was happening, I would sell. You know, you've got Cedric Suarez for a couple of years. You've got Maitland-Niles. You surely can find a right back somewhere, man. Them sort of positions there, you know, you can go and find the right back version of Tierney, or go and find a future Sagna for us. You know, someone that just does their job. Not everyone needs to be a star in that. You know, really, these are the sort of things. When I see stuff like that, like centre-halves as well, it's like we can't just scout a little centre-half and bring them into the club. Like, don't get it twisted. It's easy for me to say that, and I would love Upamecano and all these sort of guys, but you know, we've got how much video analysis and all this stuff. We can't go and find a centre-half for a little 15, 20 million or something. That's levels. We need to start doing stuff like that, man. Lacazette's been, you know, Arteta's spoken kind of coy in Lacazette's future about our contract, if you compare how he spoke about Aubameyang. But he's kind of talked him up, he's bigged up his capabilities, and he does. I do think he is a fan of Lacazette. I just don't think he sees Lacazette to the scale that Lacazette might see him in the squad. Like, I think he sees Lacazette as someone that can be rotated. You might start a couple of games, but you're interchangeable. I think, you know, Aubameyang's a different ilk to that for obvious reasons. As you lot already know, Juventus, Atletico are apparently in active talks, and both would seek to include players in a part exchange, according to L'Equipe. I mean, could we get Aaron Ramsey back from Juventus? You know, could they give us Bentancur? I'm dream chasing with Bentancur. They'd be stupid to let Bentancur go. I think he's got potential to be the best centre mid in the world, if he isn't one of the best already, which I think he is, and I'm keen to see what him and Arthur are on together in midfield in Italy. But, you know, It'd be for Juventus. I mean, it'd be for Arsenal to sit down and think, what players would you want from Juventus? Obviously, with Atletico, it's easy to link us with Lacazette and a Partey move, which keeps getting quashed. There's obviously Thomas Lemar, and there might be a random name sorted there. Apparently, Ramsey was offered to Spurs, which they rejected, people. I'm not too sure if I believe that. As you lot know, Arsenal fans, you know, until anything's signed with Aubameyang, we're not going to be excited. But when you saw reports coming around, 3-year deal, 2.5k, you all saw Arteta's comments in relation to Aubameyang, you know, it sounded positive. Apparently, people, Aubameyang's future is now in the hands of Arsenal's head of football, Raul Sanllehi, who is yet to present a formal proposal to the 31-year-old. Now, that doesn't, we need to be careful, because on first hand, of course, that's concerning with me. If I'm hearing what Arteta's saying and allegedly what Aubameyang's saying, and Aubameyang egging it on social media, and there's no offer on the table, of course I'm going to think, yo, Arsenal, well, go on, do you want to keep my man or not? Like, we're getting so close here, we're hearing positive talks. But at the same time, just because there's no formal offer does not mean that there's no talks. You put the feelers out, you talk. Aubameyang and his representatives might be saying, I want this. Arsenal might be saying that. You come to an agreement, you draw up the framework and the proposals, and then you present it. Either way, it's concerning that we've gone this far and it's not happened. But I just think, you know, you need to be careful. Obviously, like I said, people, and like you lot already smart, you already know, until Aubameyang signs that deal and you see it on Arsenal.com, you know, take everything with a pinch of salt. It's that simple, people, really and truly. Hopefully Aubameyang signs a new deal. You know, for me personally, I would be open to selling Guendouzi for the right price, but you know, I think there's a player in him, and you know, can't speak for you lot, but I think I would like to keep him. You know, hopefully there can be a resolution, but you know, most crucially is we need to get the players out that are not on board, and the players out that Arteta can't progress with, and move them on, people. And you know, I don't know how we're going to do it. You know, Partey isn't enough, because I'm not being disrespectful. Partey's a big boy midfielder and upgrades our midfield. But Partey can't do it alone. Like, we still need to improve the whole spine of the team, really. I think we need a centre-half. I know Mustafi and Luiz, prior to obviously City, Luiz's form was very good, and it's still kind of excluding that is. Mustafi's been decent since Arteta's there, and even talks of a new deal. Don't get it twisted, people. Big up them, but at the same time, I don't like to let form cloud my judgment, because can I honestly, like I always say in my videos, can I honestly put my hand on my heart and say Mustafi going to do this a year from now? I'm confident, I'm hopeful, because you know, he's got a manager that believes in him. You know, he seems more confident, he seems at peace with himself, he seems psychologically different. He's always going to be Mustafi, and that error is always going to be there, but he's playing more confident and more assured. But do I think he's going to be playing levels like this a year from now? I'm not too sure. I wouldn't bet my house on it. I bet my house on Aubameyang to score 20 league goals next year, because he's been doing it. I wouldn't bet on Mustafi and Luiz to be able to keep the level of clean sheets. I'm not criticising them. I'm just saying, you know, Arteta's doing really good. 3 at the back, you know, Mustafi, Luiz and Kolasinac. You know, imagine that was 2 better centre-halves, and even potentially even Tierney on the left-hand side, or more convincing players. In the same way I look at, you know, Aubameyang and a couple of others, and I've instantly got confidence in them, I just want to be able to look at my defence, and I don't have confidence in my defence. Beyond their form and stuff, big up them, you know, we're playing well. But a year from now, like, I don't look at my defence and get inspired. Like, if I was Leno, I'm not inspired for Leno and think, yeah, Leno's fine. We haven't, the very minimum, we need to give Leno a stable back 3, 4, 5, whatever positions you want to call it, in front of him. Because since he's landed at this team, there's been patches where we've looked better defensively and kept clean sheets, but have we really improved it? Like, what's really the point signing Tierney and signing Leno, different jigsaws, pieces of the jigsaw, if you're not going to sign a centre-half or 2 that's levels, if you're not going to sign a right-back that's levels? And when I say levels, I don't mean world-class and things, just competent. All I want is competency, people. Whatever role you're in, can you do it? And can you do it well? Can you do it consistently? Because there's no point doing it one week. You know, we've got 2 games this week. There's no point being able to do it against Leicester and not against Spurs. You get it? Competence, consistency, and I need confidence. Like, even when you make mistakes, I need to see it, because you can't play for a top 6 team if you're not confident, people. But we'll see what happens, man. Hopefully Aubameyang, there's confidence in there. Hopefully we bring in Partey. Hopefully Guendouzi and Arteta are able to thingy themselves as well. Because there's a lot Arteta could probably teach Guendouzi. You know, they're both midfielders. They're both probably completely different midfielders. But, you know, they're both at the base at times. I'm sure there's something to be done there, people. Midfield is actually an area I'm keen to see the most under Arteta, because obviously he played there. But at this moment, I'm rambling, people. Let me get out of here. It's always a pleasure. DG.